Okay, so let's get right into it. The United States and China are locked in this, well, this insane, high-stakes race for supremacy in artificial intelligence. And this isn't just about who can build the smartest chatbot. We're talking about a battle for economic dominance, for global influence, and really, for the future of technology itself. So let's break down what's actually going on.
And then, bam, everything kind of came to a head with this one single shocking headline. A Chinese AI model, built for literally a fraction of the cost, suddenly went toe-to-toe with America's most powerful, most expensive systems. This wasn't just some tech demo, it was a major statement.
You can imagine that one event sent shockwaves all through Silicon Valley, all the way to Washington, D.C. It forced everyone to ask the question, in this epic technological showdown, who is really winning? The answer, as you're about to see, is way more complicated than you might think.
All right, so to get to the bottom of this, we're going to break it down into 6 key parts. We'll start with the money, the $100 billion question. Then we'll deconstruct what this race even is. We'll dive deep into the hardware battleground, the fight for global influence, the pretty scary reality of AI and warfare, and finally, what all this means for our future.
You see, to really get who's in the lead, you can't think of AI as a single race. It's not. It's actually more like a stack of different competitions, all layered on top of each other. It goes from the apps we use every day, all the way down to the bare metal silicon they run on. So at the very top of this stack, you've got the applications, the stuff we all know, like ChatGPT. Right below that, powering those apps, are the large language models. They're the brains of the operation. And supporting them, massive infrastructure, huge server farms. And then, at the very bottom, you have the specialized chips and the incredibly complex design and manufacturing needed to create them.
And here's the kicker. The deeper you go down that stack, the harder and more wildly expensive it gets to compete. I mean, anybody could build an app, but building your own advanced chips, that's where this stops being about startups and becomes a true battle between global superpowers. Which, of course, brings us to the most fundamental layer of all, the hardware battleground. This is a gritty fight over the actual physical building blocks of AI, the chips, the power to run them, and the incredible machines that make them in the first place.
And right here, you see 2 completely different strategies playing out. The US absolutely dominates chip design. I mean, companies like Nvidia control a mind-boggling 80% of the AI chip market. So the US strategy is to use that dominance as a weapon, hitting China with export bans to choke off its supply. China's response? They've gone all in on self-sufficiency, pouring billions into a policy called Made in China 2025 to try and build their own chip industry from scratch.
And the US has been absolutely relentless, just tightening the screws. It started back in 2022, banning the best of the best chips. Then in 2023, they expanded the ban to include the slightly less powerful ones. By 2025, the restrictions got even tighter. The goal was crystal clear, just throttle China's ability to train those massive AI models.
But, and this is a huge but, this strategy had a completely unintended side effect. As one analyst put it, the situation is pretty crazy. Because China was forced to innovate with less, well, they actually did innovate with less. The very restrictions that were meant to cripple them instead lit a fire of creativity.
And the result of that innovation is just astonishing. Look at this. Meta trained its top-tier model using 16,000 of the best Nvidia chips out there, costing over $500 million. Meanwhile, this Chinese company, Deepseek, used a tiny number of worse chips, costing just $6 million, and they produced a model that was shockingly competitive. They got world-class results with 10 times less computing power. It completely flipped the script on the idea that more money and better hardware always wins.
But China still has this one massive roadblock. It's a single, hyper-advanced machine called an EUV lithography machine. It is the one thing you absolutely must have to make the world's most advanced chips. It costs $250 million, and it's made by one company in the Netherlands, a company that is banned, by US pressure, from selling it to China. This right here is the ultimate choke point in the hardware war.
Okay, so that's the hardware. But the competition isn't just about silicon. The next major battleground is the fight for global influence. Because, having the best tech in the world doesn't matter if nobody's using it. This is a race for hearts, minds, and, most importantly, markets.
So while we're all focused on the US and China, they only represent about 22% of the world's population, combined. The real prize, the real battleground for who wins the AI race, is the other 78% of the world.
As Microsoft's president Brad Smith said, The number one factor, the thing that matters most, is whose technology gets adopted by everyone else. I mean, we learned from the 5G race that whoever gets their tech out there first is incredibly hard to displace.
And so you get these two fundamentally different visions being sold to the world. The US pitch is all about innovation, freedom, and partnership, but within a tech ecosystem that America leads. China's offering something different: state-controlled efficiency, sharing their technology with developing nations in the global south, and basically presenting a clear alternative to being dependent on the West.
Okay, now we have to pivot to the most serious part of this whole competition. The stakes here go way beyond just economics and influence. We have to talk about the future of conflict itself. Warfare at machine speed.
And this brings us to a frankly terrifying new concept: gigahertz warfare. This is the idea that AI could conduct military operations at speeds that are literally faster than human comprehension, a world where commanders might be physically unable to control, to contain, or even to stop a conflict once it's already started.
So AI destabilizes global security in a few critical ways. First, it completely blurs the line between a conventional and a nuclear attack. It shrinks the time for making life-or-death decisions from days down to nanoseconds. This creates a huge risk of what they call inadvertent escalation, a catastrophic war started by a simple misperception. It even lets rogue actors use deepfakes or disinformation to try and trick superpowers into fighting each other.
And as Dr. James Johnson, an expert in this field, points out, AI is a force multiplier. It's not creating these dangers out of thin air. It's taking all the destabilizing effects of our existing advanced weapons and just pouring gasoline on the fire, making a dangerous world even more unpredictable.
So where does all this leave us? Well, it brings us to the final, and maybe the most important piece of this whole puzzle. This race for our future, it's about more than just technology. It's about what we as people actually do with it.
And the cultural difference in how people see AI is just staggering. In China, an overwhelming 83% of people are optimistic about the benefits AI will bring. In the United States, that number is just 39%. That shows a fundamental split in public enthusiasm and just basic acceptance of this technology.
So it makes you wonder, maybe the winner of this race won't be the country with the most powerful chips or the biggest AI models. Maybe the real winner will be whoever figures out how to make AI work for actual human beings. Solving real problems and making people's lives better. And really, that's the ultimate question we're left with. This whole race, it's not just about who can build the best AI. It's about who gets to set the rules, the values, for the technology that is going to fundamentally reshape our civilization. So looking at everything we've seen, the big question we all have to ask is, what kind of future do we actually want to build?